This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock, joined by John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Thanksgiving season is behind us. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
I did, and I understand you did too.
Christmas season is upon us,
I'm
that
ready.
means
I'm ready.
Hallmark movie channel for John Brummett. I got one question for you before we get rolling.
Yes.
Which do you think will be a more watched Hallmark movie this year in terms of the ratings? Will it be Once Upon a Holiday, or will it be A Mistletoe Inn?
Let me just tell you, those are the same movie with a different title. All these Christmas movies are the same. The formula is written, and you're making fun of me because I was so distressed by the divisiveness in the country reflected by the Trump victory in 2016. I spent the period between the election and the new year watching Hallmark movies.
Do you think you've moved beyond
I've
that
moved
now?
beyond it. I've moved mainly because I've seen them all.
You live a lifetime now, or you?
No, I'm not.
You just
no. That period of my life has concluded. I'm more mentally healthy now. Gotcha. I can deal with reality. Plus, I've seen them all, and as it turns out, if you saw one, you've seen them all. But they're uplifting and beautiful scenery. Every scene is like a Hallmark card, which turns out they are. I mean, they're using the backgrounds of photographs for their communities.
It's all green screen, probably.
Yeah, okay. So I did that, and I'm done with it, and you didn't have to bring it up.
Well,
okay? What else you got?
I get questions about this all the time. Like, does he really watch those?
I did for 2 years. And I saw they started them at Thanksgiving. You know, you cruise the channels. Now, well, let's stay and watch. No, wait. I've seen this. I know that those two are going to get together, and I know they're going to start to kiss, but somebody's going to interrupt. There's going to be a snowball fight, and they're going to be happy in the end. I just told you. Some
sort of tale of redemption.
Yeah.
So a Hallmark movie ends better than a Razorback football season.
I see. You're so clever. You're so clever. Yeah.
Do you move to hog basketball now, or do you wait till spring football practice
to
get back into?
Hog basketball does not interest me as much because it is more successful.
Yeah.
It is competitive. They beat Indiana, although I will tell you, there is a cycle. The hog basketball team in its intersectional start of the season period usually does well, and then they go on the road in the SEC and things mess up. So just to temper the enthusiasm. But basketball does not fuel my Twitter spasms, as I like to call
Twitter spasms?
like the hogaholic condition affecting our football situation does. Hogaholism being my word for the cultural disease from which we suffer here in the state.
Can we pivot to politics now? I mean, I think we've done all the cultural stuff we need to do to set it up.
If that's all you want to know about the Razorbacks, let me just tell you.
Yeah.
And then we move on.
Okay.
This is a seminal moment in the Razorback football history. I mean, 210 is their worst record in forever. They're $160 million in debt for luxury suites, dependent on a revenue flow from ticket sales. They've decided what they need to, and they're paying one buyout to a $1 million buyout to a coach. They need funds, and they need a successful team. And they hired a coach who was who was good with the slogans. Hammer down, left lane.
Hammer down,
he also
right lane, broken
He also
down,
was popular.
I think is what I saw on Twitter.
Right. He also was popular in Texas high school, where we must recruit. So we're all into this as our approach to somehow be competitive enough in this tough conference to let our guys go to a bowl game, somewhere, so our fans could go to Shreveport or Memphis or better. And 210 has some people thinking, I wonder if he's actually going to be a good coach. Others are defending and saying, because the hogaholic condition is always to think it's going to get better, and perhaps it will, that he's going to get better players and it'll all turn around. But this is a big moment, and the dominant cultural force of Arkansas of my lifetime, which is Razorback football. I think it's important in a way.
I don't even know how to move beyond that.
It's so profound.
Yeah, it really was.
Okay, move on to other things.
I do want to talk about the life and the legacy of Betty Bumpers, former First Lady, wife of U.S. Senator Dale Bumpers, who passed away a couple of years ago. She passed away at the age of 93. Did you have a personal relationship, a personal rapport with Betty Bumpers?
Mild. Yeah, I have an on-again, off-again close friendship with her firstborn, Brent Bumpers.
Brent Bumpers.
The
Brent of Brent and Sam's.
Brent and Sam's, the cookie millionaire and tennis friend, and right now I think we're on the outs. But through that I got acquainted with the Bumpers family, and I knew the senator better, I know the kids better, but she was, among many other things, her place in Arkansas history is great. She could be a little feisty. Yeah, are you prompting me to tell the mustache story?
No, no.
Okay.
You can tell that if you want to, but for people who didn't know Betty Bumpers,
yeah.
What was she like?
Well, she was warm and generous and funny, and she could be irreverent, and she could be a little bit spicy, sassy, feisty, something like that. I remember Dale Bumpers tells about the time Bill Clinton called him and said, let's fly to the Gillette Coon Supper. And then showed up at his door and said, let's go. There's ice and snow on the ground. They ended up having a crash landing in a small plane over at some East Arkansas rural airport. As they prepared to leave, Betty Bumpers said, you two need a saliva test. You know, either have your hormone imbalance checked or whether you're on some sort of hallucinatory drug to get out on a night like this. She had that kind of I told her once, she came to my Life Quest class for one term, I told her once that her eldest son, Brent, was very direct and had once said to me, called me on the phone and said, I saw you on TV lose the mustache. And I thought she would say, oh, Brent, I can't believe it. She said, might be a good idea. So, you know, there was that. But those are just little personal anecdotes about what is sort of a, she had her own kind of warmth and directness, which I think defined her. But her place in history is what really
and to me, I think, when I think of First Ladies of Arkansas, I think she almost kind of defined that modern day role for a First Lady to take up a personal cause and to push and advance that. Childhood immunizations was her big push when she was First Lady. Once Dale Bumpers moved to the U.S. Senate, she took up world peace and nuclear disarmament. Not a small task for anyone, and actually had success in creating dialogue about all of that. I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, those two issues, the peace links she formed to sort of raise the rhetoric for peace instead of the Reagan nuclear proliferation threats and sort of more bellicose language about nuclear weapons. Bumpers was once asked, does your wife's political engagements, does that hurt you with anybody? And he says, only with those who are in favor of whooping cough and nuclear war, which was a nice way to handle that and very well put. She was, the Bumperses, now I would say that Jeanette Rockefeller, the immediately preceding First Lady, was a patron of the arts and of the Arkansas Arts Center, and she may have some claim to the modern First Lady's role, but Betty Bumpers, the Bumperses, that couple, what they were about was modernizing and moderating Arkansas, modernizing the state's culture and its economy, and moderating its politics. As much a part of modernizing as Dale's reorganizing state government was that she, as First Lady, looked around and said, we've got these immunizations available for these infectious diseases, measles and mumps and these, and thousands upon thousands of our kids aren't immunized, and she took it as her cause, became expert in it, and the rate of immunization increased to near universal coverage in the state, and we have a healthier state and healthier children and happier children and better educated children. And then when she got to Washington, she went to see Rosalind Carter and said, you know, the Arkansas problem is nationwide, and it became a school immunization program with her in the lead in concert with Rosalind Carter. You can't have a life that makes much more difference than that in the health of children. And then, as I was saying, Reagan and the era of tough talk, bellicosity about nuclear weapons and peace through strength, she formed Peace Links, which really was just wives of senators and other women who wanted to join to rally for peace and to talk about peace in the context. They didn't endorse any programs. They weren't a policy organization. Let's think about our children, and let's think about living in a world with threat of nuclear war.
And they led to some cultural exchanges
it did.
Kind of breaking down some communication barriers.
And also led to Alabama Republican Senator Jeremiah Denton attacking her, or attacking her organization, on the Senate floor, saying that perhaps blithely, Peace Links was being helped by Soviet organizations. No evidence of that. It was a Trumpian kind of thing before Trumpian tweets. But she handled it with grace. You know, she may be, I guess she, as you said it before our program, until Trump attacked Ted Cruz's wife.
On the campaign trail.
As unattractive, I think, was basically his charge against her. He was not yet the president, it was on the campaign trail. This was one senator's wife, or at least her activities in her organization, being criticized on the floor of the Senate by a fellow senator, which is surely the only time that's happened. And there was a great rise. Peace Links was bipartisan. A Republican senator's wife, whose name I cannot, Hines, maybe, was the co-founder, co-leader of it. So, what a remarkable legacy to have.
Particularly from a small town country girl from Franklin County. I mean, to have done all of that
over in the Grand Prairie, then of West Arkansas Hamlet, Charleston, to rise to that level. Very smart. That whole clan, they've got an intelligence gene running through them. They do.
Let's turn our attention to one of our friends that writes nationally, Jonathan Martin for the New York Times. Has written a very interesting analysis piece about what has gone on now post-midterm election, and really looking at the rural versus urban divide and how some Democrats did in some key states. And the conclusion that he draws is people like Beto O'Rourke and Andrew Gillum, Stacey Abrams, they did worse than Obama did with rural voters in those states, and they did better in some of the urban centers. It would seem that our political divide is widening.
The white rural culture is conservative, becoming more so, while the densely populated areas are becoming more democratic, and the division is greater. And the examples you cite, I could cite the 2nd District of Arkansas. Clark Tucker was, on balance, a stronger candidate probably than North Little Rock Mayor Pat Hayes. Clark Tucker ran better in Pulaski County than Pat Hayes did, got wiped out more in White County and Saline County by a greater number of votes than Pat Hayes had in 2014, 4 short years ago. Now, Jonathan Martin piece, and Arkansas is the epitome of this condition, largely because we remain a white rural culture. I mean, we've got the things happening in the Northwest, we've got Pulaski County, but we do not have the African American vote at a percentage to raise Democratic vote to a significant level like Mississippi might. We may see that in the Mississippi Senate special election. We are sort of Oklahoma-ish, a little bit of Alabama, Mississippi, but more Oklahoma and Kansas. A white, rural, conservative culture, and it's manifest.
Places like Georgia and Florida and Texas are growing in their diversity populations.
Yeah, and they're becoming purple states, and we're becoming redder and redder. A piece at least as good as Jonathan Martin's, if not better, is posted on The Atlantic today online, and it's about what's called geographic sorting. And it says that we are, Democrats are living more and liberals are living more and more in dense populations, and that conservatives are living more and more in rural populations, and their vote is precisely opposite and becoming more pronouncedly so. Fascinating observation, the Texas Senate race, which was close statewide.
Less than 3%.
Less than 3%, and made Beto O'Rourke a national figure. The Atlantic says it actually wasn't close anywhere in Texas. It was close only in the whole, meaning a county would either be overwhelmingly for Cruz, be it rural or cowboy, or it would be urban and overwhelmingly for O'Rourke. I can show you I wrote that Pulaski County was a liberal democratic island or peninsula in a deep crimson sea. As Clark Tucker's father, Rhett Tucker, favored me with an email with his Excel spreadsheet in which he said the real island is Little Rock, because in Little Rock itself, Clark Tucker got north of 70%.
Yeah.
You get outside of the city limits, between the Little Rock city limits and the Pulaski County line, it was 51%.
Yeah.
Then when you get over the county line, he's wiped out.
Right.
So
places like Maumelle and Sherwood
right.
and some of those other areas are where
right.
there's a growing Republican population.
So the Atlantic piece about geographic sorting we're a perfect example. Little Rock, where we live closer together with more amenities and accustomed to urban type living, strong for the Democratic candidate for Congress. The suburban communities within the county, still a little Democratic, but less so. And then when you get across the county line into the more rural counties, Republicans wipe out the Democrats. Which comes first? Did people choose to live where they live because of their political predilection, or by living somewhere do you become more one way or the other? You know what I think?
What do you think?
Both.
Yeah?
Both. And it's fascinating, but the point is, the greater point, and we've got enough division in this country, but this division, geographic sorting by where you live, and the fact that our voting is becoming so diametrically different is not healthy for the country.
It's almost like we're siloing where we live by where we watch TV on the national news level.
You mean, yeah,
cable news.
Yeah, cable
yeah.
news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some parallel there.
Is it Fox, or is it CNN, or is it MSNBC? Or
Hallmark.
Or is it Hallmark?
Yeah.
I say, if your choices are Fox, CNN, MSNBC, and the same old Hallmark Christmas movie over and over again, I say watch Hallmark. And given that choice.
Words of wisdom.
Now turn the thing off.
From John Brummett of the Arkansas
Read the
Democrat
piece in the Atlantic online today, geographic sorting.
I got a feeling there's going to be a John Brummett column coming out of some of all of this, too.
Well, I hate to steal it. Maybe I can.
You can do proper attribution.
Well, I will, but it's important.
Yeah.
The conclusions from it are somewhat partly objective and partly subjective, and something for great thought, which you and your political team, your Barse and your Kuhn and others, Burris and Jessica.
We'll throw you in the mix on that too.
I don't like to be on with anybody else. They take my time.
I got you.
Okay, man.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. That's all for today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.
You'll find us at the end of a lot of long country roads, covering over 60% of the great state of Arkansas. Our 17 electric distribution cooperatives are working day and night to provide reliable, affordable power to over 500,000 homes, farms, and businesses, just like yours. The Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, your local energy partners.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.